Cue the lights, roll the reel. It's time for Flip My Film. We transform plain into profound, ordinary into extraordinary. Relish the popcorn and relive the magic. Welcome to Flip My Film.
Our first movie that we're introducing is going to be Passengers. My name is Luke Lamb. I come from an innovation background, and because we're talking about Flip My Film, I've introduced my buddy Felix, who's also very good at flipping houses in this case. So welcome, Felix.
Thanks for having me here. I know Luke for years, and he has one of the greatest minds I've ever seen, so I'm excited to see some of his thoughts.
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure. Well, let's get into it, shall we? So, with Passengers, Felix, I think you rewatched this movie somewhat recently, right?
Yes, I did. I actually really liked the movie, which for on many aspects. Number one is I do think that the visuals are done very well. I know it's not a action-packed shooting and fighting movie, but a lot of the scenes I thought were really well done. I feel like they did a good job making the starship look massive. Actually, the storyline, I like the storyline too. I feel like any guy would wake up a woman instead of dying alone in the
What?
ship. It seems
guy would
very
wake up a woman?
realistic. Very realistic. So that I think it's cool how they talk about the starships like owned by a giant enterprise that it's basically a money making business, and how he's just a regular guy that volunteers. He has regular coffee, regular food, regular everything, and someone that has money gets these luxury suites and gourmet meals. I could just see how in the future a corporation working it that way. I just thought it was a cool story. I liked it.
Yeah, it's just a regular story about a space mechanic meets a space lawyer, right? So I can get that. Now, you're probably not going to like me too much for this, Felix, because my opinion is a little bit closer to what I consider to be the popular opinion. So let's think about Rotten Tomatoes, right? Which is a pretty nice measure. So
Okay.
what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie was?
Well, I would have guessed higher, but by the way you announced Rotten Tomatoes and the fact that you said that you're gonna grade it like everybody else did, I would assume it got 45, 48%.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty optimistic, so let's see. No, it's 30% on the tomato meter, 30%.
Wow, it was
Yeah,
even
so
worse. Well, in my defense, I just did see that it was out of 288 people compared to the thousands of views for the higher percentage. Just saying.
well, I guess he doesn't believe in the elitism of the professional review. I get that. So this is how I look at movies, right?
All
It's
right.
it's a little bit from maybe a film critic. I think about it from more of an innovation background. Where is the oomph or the power for a movie? So I split it up with first, what is the concept, the overall concept, right? Like how original is it? How strong is it as an overall concept? At the beginning of the movie, Chris wakes up and from this the slumber, and the movie really tracks him, right? He's the main character in many ways. You track him at the beginning of the movie, and you're trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? Even though you already knew that there was something wrong with the ship, right, from the beginning.
Yeah.
As he's going around and he's kind of wandering around, and he notices that he's alone, right, on this big ship. And then after a while, the realization that he's going to die on this ship before he even gets anywhere turns him into this bum, right? So he's just wandering around and doing everything that we're always thinking about. Yeah, being so angry and drinking, if you drink. And then there's a point where he's walking around, his ass is just sticking out. We don't really need to go into that.
Yeah.
So from my
We
standpoint,
can for the ladies. We
oh
can
yeah,
for the
yeah, not
ladies.
for the PG rating I'm trying to go
Well,
for
not for me.
for YouTube. So he's walking around, and I think this is the part that I want to talk about. The hook is not that strong because we already know there's something wrong with the ship, and we already know what he's kind of intending to do, right? Once he sees her, there's not a mystery there. Oh, by the way, I'm not the first one to come up with what I'm about to show you. It's actually been floating around the internet for a while, but I'll start out with this idea about what if the movie was cut differently. Well, basically, what would happen if instead of following Chris, you were following Jen or Aurora from the beginning, right? That changes the entire way that the movie feels. This is, for instance, Nerd Writer 1 also has a similar post about this one part that we're talking about, which is this re-edit, right? And there's also this fan edit version that's floating around the internet, all starting out with what happened if Aurora was the main character and we were following her. We got this scene, right, where imagine the movie starts off right here, this moment right in time. So
Okay.
she wakes up, she's walking around, she doesn't know what's going on, she doesn't know anything about this guy, she doesn't know that she's the only one that's awake, right? Neither do you. So the point being is you don't know more than the movie. That's the difference, right? And
Hmm.
that's a critical difference, because if you don't know more than the movie, you don't know what he's thinking. You don't know that he's lying, right? He could say
Oh, I
whatever he
see.
wants,
I see
you
what you're
know.
saying. And then when you finally find out that he's lying, it's like a that
Oh, you
bastard.
stabbed me in the freaking heart, right?
Yeah.
So that's the feeling. That's the feeling that I think we want to be able to really push in order to make the movie a bit stronger. Is that that feeling that it's the entire movie is a mystery, basically, right? It's a
Yeah.
mystery of his intentions. That's the basic idea, and I don't want to linger on this because, like I said, this concept has been kind of explored to death, right? That
Okay.
what if she started first? So I'm going to move on to the next point, which is really about the conflict in the movie.
You gave it a 2 out of 5. My reasoning for thinking it had better conflict was because I look at it like there's, as you watch the movie, there's not just like one main conflict. I feel like there's multiple conflicts, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
at first, I'm following him around, and I'm thinking like, he's trying to figure out the ship. Maybe at one point he can figure out how to get back both of them, right? Obviously they
Mm-hmm.
can't, but at one point maybe he can figure it out. Also, like there's a conflict with obviously the ship being broke and being able to fix it. I mean, there's a lot of movies where the hero dies, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
that conflict at that one point too, where is he going to make it back? So I don't know. I found that there was a lot of conflicts.
I hear what you're saying. I think for me, the conflict is more the original story vehicle, the one that you mentioned, this beginning part right here, right? Which is
Yeah.
like where the ship ends up um, hitting this asteroid. Now, this is the key problem that I have with this major plot device. This ship has only one purpose, right? Like ever. Its one purpose is to not run into things. That's it. It's literally
Yes.
its one purpose. And it doesn't even run into a small thing. It runs into a thing that with today's technology, we would be able to spot that from like an astronomical unit away. It would never happen. Like literally.
Well, there's an argument. There could be the argument that we got to remember it's 100+ year trip at
Uh,
an insane speed, right? So the trajectory it could have been when it was initially computerized. It wasn't a meteor storm because obviously it wasn't just one meteor; it was a meteor storm. So somehow it crossed paths. And think about going a certain speed at 100 years away. How far that other meteor had to have been to be able to cross paths. So I think it's possible.
this is the science nerd part of me talking.
Yeah.
So the first thing is there's no such thing as a meteor storm. It doesn't exist in the universe. It doesn't exist. So that's the first part. In every single movie where they show these rocks really close together, this doesn't exist. In
So okay. So then, what is the definition of a meteor shower when we supposedly get hit by a meteor shower here in the Earth?
okay. Well, first of all, asteroids. Asteroids are the rocks in space. Meteors are the rocks when they hit the Earth. So that's the first part. So there's no such thing as an asteroid storm, I should say. There's such a thing as a meteor storm, and that's
Because
just the little
because
pieces
the
falling down.
rocks break down as they come
I
down.
mean, and literally the way that works is there's one rock that breaks down and it breaks
Yeah,
into little rocks, right?
and it makes a bunch
But,
of right.
yeah, but in space, the chance of you hitting a big rock that you don't know about is a lower chance than you winning the lottery. It's a lower chance. I know this is being very technical, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reason why I pointed this out is that I just didn't like it as a plot device because this is a little bit of kind of an act of God, right? There's an act of God type of plot device, and then it causes all these problems. But because it's an act of God, nobody takes responsibility. And since nobody takes responsibility, it gives up on an opportunity for us to drive more interesting conflicts. So this is this is my question. This is my proposal to you. Okay. So the first
All right.
proposal when we were talking about the hook was about making it start with her, right? That was the first one. My
Which I could
second,
see it. I could see that, and I could see it um getting you more emotional on the situation when he finally does it. Because actually, when you watch it as the original version, you almost feel sympathetic for the guy, right?
this is my proposal to you. By having it be his dad that kind of did the tampering, we have two things that happen. The first is that he wakes up originally, or even for a year, he doesn't know why he was the one who woke up first, right? He doesn't
Okay.
know why. But then it plays in the fact that she's she's a reporter, so she can uncover things by interviewing and researching. So now she can actually find out that actually here's something he didn't know in reverse. She didn't know that he was the one who woke her up, but he doesn't actually know why he woke up. you know and it turned out that it wasn't random. It wasn't a random, 1 in a billion chance on a super sophisticated spaceship. It's because his dad tampered with something, and that's why literally just his pod fails. Nobody else's pod fails.
All right.
So it kind of puts a little bit more of the drama on him and his personal life, which right now I don't really know anything about.
But are you saying that he ends up waking her up because she's a reporter and not because she's this
Oh, no, no,
beautiful
no,
girl?
no. He wakes her up because he's horny.
Oh,
He wakes
typical.
her up because he's horny, but the reason why he wakes up is not because there's a freaking cosmic storm, which again doesn't exist.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I see what you're saying. So the storyline's staying the same, but the main difference is that it's not because of a chance, but because the dad got him in and it malfunctioned, and his
yeah,
pop
then,
wakes
then
up.
he wakes up. Yeah, so his dad didn't mean for it to happen, but he cheated, and there's a repercussion. It wasn't perfect, right? This is the part where J Law is discussing all her reporter stuff and interviewing him about his life, right? So, but in reality, we don't know much about them. It's just a very brief conversation. But in this ability to kind of reset back to about his life, at least there's kind of a backstory that might be a little bit more engaging. You care a little bit more about where he comes from, and it pushes on that button that you mentioned about their class struggle. The other thing that I thought might be interesting is here we have poor Morpheus over here, right? Uh, and he woke up just to die, and that kind of sucks. But I was thinking, like, in the case where right now it's the storm that's causing this wake up and whatever it is, I thought that if his dad's triggering all this, another, we can play it two ways. Either there's the malfunctions keep on continuing, right? So if they keep on continuing, yeah, he wakes up just like this story. Or the other way is it's kind of a nice thing that he's the only bridge officer that's out in the open. And again, if it's Jennifer Lawrence's movie and it's not Chris Pratt's movie and she's an investigator, maybe she finds that out. She finds out that there's a way into the bridge, right? Because there's one guy out in the open. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So she finds it out. And maybe what he does from it is he makes this choice to, because he's just like, I'm one in the hole already. He's going to make this choice to wake this guy up, kind of take a gamble. So there was just that. But this was kind of a small detail. And like I said, I didn't mind the part where it's the overall climax of the movie, like the part that you talked about with the gravity failing in the end, and where he saves her life and then she saves his life. I think that's fine. I mean, it's to be expected, right? It's the feel good part of the movie.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I actually thought he was gonna die at one point, but maybe I should have known.
You should have known. No, I'm kidding.
I thought it was a Titanic scene.
Okay. All right. So now I want to present the last part, right? The last part that I had a problem with was really the ending.
Well,
So
and let me clarify before you go on.
okay,
It's obviously it's not like I thought the ending was fantastic either. I mean, like I said, I think overall the movie kept me engaged throughout the movie, and like I said, even towards the very end, I was like, oh man, he's gonna die, right? But
yeah,
obviously, he doesn't die, and then basically kind of ends with everyone waking up, and they see like this forest, and you don't know anything about them except for the little note that they left. So Yeah, I mean the ending wasn't fantastic, but I can't think of a better way. But I'm sure you're gonna think of a better way.
Well, I mean, that's the whole entire point of the show, right? It'd be pretty
Yeah.
disappointing if I don't actually show how this could be better. It's 100 years, 150 years later, whatever. They're getting there, and at this point, 88 years later. Sorry, bad math. So as they get into it, and everybody starts waking up, one of the funny parts about the movie is that I think only our generation would know the fact that this is Andy Garcia, right? So Andy Garcia used to be pretty famous, and he's in here for 1 freaking minute. He comes in here, he doesn't even have a single word to say.
You think he had to audition for his role?
No, I think he comes in there and they're like, hey, we got this big part for you. It's only 1 minute. He's like, I want to be paid $1 million for this 1 minute. I had this idea, right? As the movie was playing out, and you could see that, hey, they found out that there's this way to reprogram the medical pod, and one of the two of them can get in. I think the better idea is what I'm presenting here, which is, what if at the end of the movie the people wake up and they find somebody they don't recognize in this pod, right? So the whole point is that the two of them had this happy life, and when this person comes out, it turns out it's their daughter.
Oh, I knew that's what you were gonna go. As soon as you said
I
they
did
don't
show you the
recognize
pretty
this
picture,
person.
so you did the math, 2 and then 1. But the point is, they meet a person who when she turned 18, the parents told her, okay, you're gonna have to live the rest of your life, and that's great. We had this great time with you. This is our reason for being, right? And they put her into the one stasis pod. So she goes in there, and now she wakes up and she can tell their whole story, right? That's the ending. She tells their whole story. And when the credits roll, they show clips, like home video clips of their life together on the ship, her literally growing up on the ship.
With her butler friend, the robot
with her butler friend, yeah, and her pet Roomba.
vacuums.
Yeah, our pet Roomba, and her drawing smiley faces on all the other stasis pods or whatever, right? That's the ending I'm looking for.
Actually,
So,
you know what? I thought I wasn't gonna like your idea, but that's really good. Actually, I like that.
okay.
I can't believe
she gets on the plane and
I
she has a
didn't think of
job.
that myself.
I'm sorry. But she gets on the plane and
it might no, I guess not. I'd rather not say because I'm gonna hear the critics saying you're crazy.
No. You say it.
But I could see it could even almost open up to another movie if you leave it at that.
Yeah,
Obviously, it wouldn't be about a ship and two people being lost, but the continuation of the new planet, or who knows.
So instead of calling it Passengers, the next movie is called Immigrants.
Yeah.
There she is, right? There she is on the planet, right here. She's got a job. She's like Han Solo on the planet, right? She's got all these skills from swinging from trees on the ship or whatever. So learning how to be a mechanic, who knows how to interview people. It's like the best of both worlds. So that's her story to tell. We fixed the hook, we fixed the conflict, and we fixed the ending. So with that, hopefully, if there was ever a re-release, and I really do picture that pretty soon we're going to get this idea. We had the director's cut of everything, right? Like everybody's like, release the cut. Right. So I think that I don't see a problem in a couple of years with somebody re-releasing the same movie, edited in a different way to be more compelling. Yeah.
Well, now that you put it in that aspect, I see where you're coming from, and I can see why you didn't like it.
Well, it's not that I didn't like it. Is that, again, at the beginning of this whole episode, I brought up this idea that it's about being just shy of greatness, right? Because it's like this close to
I see. So
an
this
amazing
you feel
movie.
like this it could have been great. I guess the only issue I would see with someone doing this again is obviously the $1 million budgets. It's a little gamble to redo it again.
I mean, come on, Gen AI. Didn't you see me do this? I did this in like 5 seconds. Here it is. That's a movie.
The motion picture.
It's one of the 60 frames. So you just have to do it another 59 times. You get 1 second of film. Awesome. Well, Felix, thanks a lot for your time. And that's how we flip my film.